Hey, step to the plate, I'ma swing for the fence. Throw me the lob, I'ma dunk it like Vince. They think I'm from Sac with the way that I'm ballin'. I feel like a king, but I'm fresher than Prince. Baltimore raised and fly like a raven. Made it through mazes, that shit amazing. Vision so clear, they thought I got LASIK. Cradle to grave, we pounding that pavement. Made up my mind, told them pass me the rock with the game on the line. I'm taking a shot. Shit, all of my life had to play from behind. And now they just watch, like, is he gon' stop? I tell them I can't. They think it's a game, they take me for joke, I just laugh to the bank.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the WWB podcast. We got me and my co-host Randall of HBCW. We're talking about this week in pop culture and pro wrestling, WWE and AEW and everything in between. So for those who love our pop culture, we're going to talk today about Roger Goodell has a black nephew. What? Creed 3 hype and Avatar. And then we're going to hop into WWE Raw and SmackDown recaps. And then finally, we'll finish up with AEW Dynamite programming. So we got an action-packed episode today. Mr. Randall, how is it going, my brother, man?
And, it's been a busy weekend. We're getting ready for Christmas next week. And, what comes along with Christmas coming up? Got the mother-in-law and sister-in-law coming.
Yeah.
That means that we got to get everything together. We've been trying to, finish up these projects that we got going here at the house. I told you I've been working on floors for months, trying to get the floor put down. And then, have you ever had to mount the TV before?
I've seen it, but it's a pain in the butt.
Let me tell you, it's a wide range of pains too. Because I mounted one before and it was fine. I just had to mount one yesterday, and it was like, man, I don't know what they thought was going to happen here, but whatever those instructions were not it. Okay.
He was an Indonesian or something.
Nah, this is supposed to be a good one too. Like it's one of those TV mounts where you can move the TV around, full motion or whatever.
Oh, those are troublemakers, bro. You got one of them fancy like $300 mounts.
I mean, it wasn't that much, but
yeah, those are a headache.
I put this thing up, and then I put everything up the way it was supposed to. Put the screws in where the last screws, the TV would not stay straight up. It would lean forward to the point where it's like, man, what is happening here? You know what I had to do?
What'd you do?
I literally had to get another screw to put in the little track thing so that it would not move. And, as long as nobody's touching the TV or, pulling on it, it'll be fine. But, I still got to get a better solution to that. And, yeah, so I've been putting stuff up. I got another TV to mount. I got to finish painting the bathroom. It's a hectic week.
Yeah.
I haven't even got the main stuff I got to do yet.
Now, knowing you as analytical as you are, did you use a stud finder, like one of those digital ones?
I do have a stud finder. I use that to put the microwave up put a shelf up in the kitchen for the microwave.
Yeah. Yeah, you cover your bases. I respect that. Something that I wouldn't do. I'm like, all right, seems like it's hollow enough. It can hold a TV.
Well, I mean, down here, we still got that wood paneling in the basement.
Yeah.
So, but the good news for me was the wood paneling that was put down here is that thick. It's like real wood.
Yeah.
Wood paneling, not like the fake stuff.
Yeah.
So I really didn't need to use didn't have to put like an anchor in there, but I did it anyway just to be safe, just in case. But it was just it was harsh. Couldn't find a drill bit big enough, really.
Yeah. I feel that. Well, let's get into it, man. We got Roger Goodell. He has a black nephew that goes to Jackson State University. Sounds like a Disney movie. Did you know that Roger Goodell has an adopted nephew?
No, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's that far off. I mean,
he's black. I mean, that a lot of people were. If you go to Twitter, everyone was like, "Whoa, what type of story arc is this?"
Well, we're talking about he has a black. You said adopted nephew.
No. It's like his brother adopted him, and he's part of like he eats food at their table type thing. So it was interesting to see, the commissioner of the NFL at a HBCU game, and no doubt has a nephew, regardless of him adopted or not. It's still it just sounds like a Disney movie.
Well, I'd say the reason why the nephew probably went to Jackson State probably was because of Deion Sanders.
Yeah,
I had to guess.
Yeah.
But we'll see how long he's still there after this year is over.
Yeah, isn't it like a crazy alternate universe though? Isn't that interesting?
I mean, again, when you have someone like Deion Sanders,
yeah,
so again, there's a lot of people out there, politicians, celebrities, whatever, where you wouldn't just think that they have, different things in their family, but there's a lot of people. Stuff like that doesn't surprise me nowadays. I mean,
yeah,
especially back when you had like Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, like,
yeah, they got a whole United Nations at their house. Once
you saw that, it's like, oh, okay, well, they like the kids, and then the kids grow up. So
yeah, great, good point. Also, Creed 3 coming out. Michael B. Jordan, Jonathan Majors, two young men who are Hollywood leading men. Jonathan Majors really doing a lot of great work from Lovecraft Country. He's had a couple other movies out recently as well. I'll go down the list of those. It's so interesting to see two young black men who are really in the prime of their careers joining together for a movie and getting together. Have you seen any of the Creed movies yourself?
Well, unfortunately, no, I have not.
Wow. Hold on, let me find my button for you, man. You just a non-movie watching dude, bro.
No, I watch a lot of movies, but there is a thing of time and opportunity. And, when certain movies come out, depends on what else comes out around the same time or what else I have going on. So, it's not like I'm not interested in them. And you know what? I'll probably wind up, when I saw the trailer for Creed 3, I was like, oh, man, I've been missing out. So it was kind of a reminder, oh, yeah, I need to get around to watching those. So,
yeah.
I'll probably watch the first two and then catch the third one as soon as it comes out on streaming.
Yeah. Jonathan Majors has also been in the movie The Harder They Fall, which was a big success on Netflix. Ant-Man and the Wasp is coming up as well. Devotion, which is a popular movie. Lovecraft Country, which was a great HBO Max television programming. The dude has just been really the Last Black Man in San Francisco, The Five Bloods, which he did an excellent job. He's just been really on his grizzy, as the young people say. So, I love Jonathan Majors. I like Michael B. Jordan. It's good to see two young men in their prime joining together for a movie and supporting each other. Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut as well, which will be really dope. So, really excited about that. What about Avatar? Did you watch the original one?
I did not. I heard a lot about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the time, that movie when it came out was like big deal. Everybody was talking about it.
Yeah.
2009, I was a little too busy with training to be a wrestler and stuff like that. So I didn't really, between full-time job and training and trying to work out and all that stuff, plus trying to go out like that just was not one of the things that we just happened to do. So
yeah.
So I probably will check out the first one and then see the second one. I've done the ride over at Disney.
Yeah, the reason why I love Avatar is when the technology came out at the time, I saw it in 3D. I remember the quality of the visuals were just absolutely amazing, and I was like, this is, James Cameron, he's going to invest into it. Apparently he needs to make $5 billion, or he needs to make $1 billion to clear the cost of the technology. So if they're investing that much into it, I believe the hype. Is your wife a big movie person or no?
She likes movies. I don't know if she's seen that one or not, because that came out in 2009 before we met.
Okay, got you. All right. So let's hop into the WWE Raw. So Raw, December 12th, we had quite a stacked card. We had Alexa Bliss defeating Bayley in a women's title #1 contenders match. We had AJ Styles beating Chad Gable. We had the Judgment Day beating the Street Profits and Akira Tozawa. We also had Io Sky beating Candice LeRae. We had an Elias sighting again, and so-called Matt Riddle, who's injured. We know what happened later in reality with Matt Riddle. Solo Sikoa beating the brakes off of Elias in a very short match. And we had Rhea Ripley beating Asuka, which might be one of her last TV appearances for quite some time here. Seth freaking Rollins beating Bobby Lashley to kind of get a chance at Austin Theory's United States title. We've talked about how Raw has kind of been kind of neutral, hasn't been as good as SmackDown overall in terms of interest, kind of treading water. Anything about this Raw that really stuck out to you, that really interested you specifically, personally?
I don't understand what they're doing with Bobby Lashley right now.
The firing thing. Talk about that. Yeah. Do you think it's a legit thing, like or he's going to be rebranded for maybe SmackDown or because that's an interesting thing to do on national television. What do you think the likely thing is going to happen with Bobby Lashley, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, it's obviously an angle, but they've already unfired him. Adam Pearce went on social media and said that he apologized and he was out of his whatever, and he reinstated them. So I don't really understand.
On social media, wow.
Yeah, so I don't. I mean, they're trying to look. They're trying to navigate it in a way where social media turns to the TV show and social media kind of work hand in hand, because they did something similar on SmackDown, not with a firing, but using social media to further an angle. But I don't understand. Who's supposed to be the heel? Who's supposed to be the face?
Yeah, definitely. How high are you on Alexa Bliss? I've never been, in terms of, she's a good, her character's okay. I never really bought into her character very heavily personally. She's definitely improved her in-ring work, but I've never been a huge fan of the presentation of that character specifically, and not really been, I've just never really been high on her as a character. What about you, where Alexa Bliss getting a big win over Bayley for the #1 contenders match? What are your thoughts on Alexa Bliss in general as a character?
I'm not going to say I've ever been high on her. I mean, she's someone who's there. I mean, she's confident in what she does. But okay, here's the thing. So last week we talked about Liv Morgan. I think it was last week or maybe the week before, but we talked about Liv Morgan and how I said that, she looks like a Barbie doll, and they don't really do anything to kind of change the perception of her, except, hey, here's some moves she does. She's crazy. She's a crazy Barbie doll, but Alexa Bliss, just think about when she first came. She looked very similar to Liv Morgan in that way, right? They're very similar in that. However, what I will say about Alexa Bliss is she has personality. When she was a heel, like, she's a believable heel. Like, you can imagine they kind of use the stuff that works against Liv Morgan to Alexa Bliss's benefit, right? She looks like the pretty, kind of high school, college girl or whatever, and she, people can relate to. Oh, she's a mean girl, right? That's what you've seen in different movies, where she's the popular girl who talks down to other people. When they did that type of stuff, it was believable. But otherwise she's kind of there, but they don't make her seem, besides the stuff with the Fiend. But again, that's a transformation of character. She's different. However, they changed up her presentation. So I think that, as long as they don't do anything that makes her seem like something she's not, while making her look like a Barbie doll, I just don't like that. Just, they've done more stuff with her than I can say that they've done with Liv Morgan, as far as making you believe the presentation that you see.
Yeah. I feel that. Seth Rollins getting we already talked about Bobby Lashley. Yeah, I'm going to miss Asuka. I look forward to seeing how she rebrands herself. Again, a great 5-tool player. She needs to get more opportunity to really develop that character. And we've talked about that as well. Any other things on Raw that stood out to you at all, sir?
Gotta say, that's about it.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Raw as well. We're going to hop over to SmackDown. Big news on SmackDown as well. We're going to talk about that card. Very interesting show. So let's talk about that. That's we had Damage Control beating Liv Morgan and Tegan Nox to retain the WWE Women's Tag Championship. We also had LA Knight getting some action with Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy. Gunther and Ricochet in a battle for it all, the Intercontinental Championship. Ricochet takes an L here. We have Braun Strowman saving Ricochet from a beatdown. We had Hit Row. Oh, we got some stuff to talk about with the Hit Row match. Hit Row almost got hit by the top rope in a triple threat tag team #1 contenders match. John Cena appearing to he's going to tag with Kevin Owens and face Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. And also, Sami Zayn looking kind of oozy with the fresh cut, beard looking good, looking clean. He looks like he's 12% Samoan. He got that Samoan. I think it's only in the hair, but I feel it. I got that. If he did Ancestry.com, I think we might find some Samoan in there. So, interesting card here on SmackDown. Let's talk about it. What I want to really isolate and really break down is Ricochet. You kind of talked about how you've said this on previous episodes, how Ricochet, where is he going? He gets a win here, but it really doesn't lead into anything. He loses to Gunther here. I thought it was a great opportunity to give Ricochet maybe an opportunity to get the title back. But we know that Gunther has been doing amazing work over the last couple of months, and no doubt he feels like a big deal. He is a big deal. And he has done nothing but deliver every single week, every single opportunity he's been given the ball to run. So let's talk about Ricochet taking this loss here. You saw this coming, I would assume.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Again, right now, just in what we know right now, Ricochet is a guy who's there to almost like a gatekeeper to heels. He's gonna make himself seem like a legit contender, and he's going to lose. And that's based on what the presentation has been. Again, like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean that's always got to be that way. Next year, especially like after Mania, when things hit a reset, he might be on Raw and pick. And no, I said Raw, not SmackDown. He's on SmackDown now. Mm-hmm. Send him over to Raw, and then he might start picking up some wins, and then beat some credible people himself, and then wind up in spot, and then wind up picking up the U.S. title. Or like I think I said this too, going to NXT might not be a bad idea to kind of hit a reset and become an NXT champion. Just something that gives him a little bit more credibility right now. He's not bad. Obviously, he's very talented, but just based on stuff that they've done with him, they can't put the belt on him right now to where it would have credibility. It'll downgrade the belt more than elevate it.
Yeah, no question about it. Talk about Uncle Howdy, Bray Wyatt, LA Knight. You buying in or not really kind of checking out? How do you feel? Where you at on this?
I'm not. Again, this is one of those everything isn't for me type things. Clearly, there was a bunch of people that had a lot of interest in this. I'd like to know if that interest is at the same level it was when it started. But, there's obviously going to be intrigue as to what is this. But it's not I'm not necessarily like, oh man, I'm looking forward to seeing this. It's like, what is this? I'll check it out. We'll see what it is. But, obviously there's nothing. I'm not down on it. It's just, let's just see where it goes.
Yeah. Let's talk about Top Dolla not being able to get over the top rope. That was I haven't seen a botch like that in quite some time. We know that Top Dolla is a big gentleman, and I didn't know that spot totally was not necessary. If anyone would have asked me if Top Dollar would be able to clear a top rope, I would say no. He said he's done it before on social media. When you saw, what'd you say?
There's video evidence of him doing it.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
He said his leg gave out. Maybe he shouldn't have been wearing like Nike Dunks. Maybe like some boots or something that can maybe give him some more. I don't know. Maybe some. I don't know. Maybe some Reebok pumps or something to get over that little extra umph. How did you feel when you saw that top rope maneuver that he did? That damn near killed himself.
Okay, so this is what I'll say. The thing about Top Dollar in this situation is there's a few things. One, that ring is something that you need to keep in mind. People who have been in the ring know this. People who haven't might not. The WWE ring is a 20 by 20 ring. When you're on most indie shows, you're on an 18 by 18 and possibly a 16 by 16. So there's one thing where you have to consider foot placement. So when you're running the ropes, there's only so many steps that you need to take to clear an 18 by 18 foot ring. Like that's just hitting the ropes, just basics. When you step inside the 20 by 20, it's a lot harder to do that. Another thing about the WWE ring is the ropes are also higher.
Oh.
So it's not, there's a difference between those rings and your regular indie ring. I'm looking at the clip right now from when he did the dive on the indie show. Looks like he's in an 18 by 18 standard, wrestling ring. But the WWE, even though it's the main company, their ring is not a standard ring.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that probably had a lot to do with it. He may have done it in NXT or something like that, or I should say at the Performance Center, and his leg may have gone out on him. But here's the thing. Don't do dives.
Yeah.
With the dives. I'm so...
Why was it necessary? Yeah.
No, listen. At this stage, no dive is necessary. None. Just stop doing it because you know what? It needs to go away so that when somebody does it, it'll actually get a reaction instead of, oh, here they go, dive. Well, they must be going to a commercial break. Stop with the dive. Much.
Yeah, and a gentleman of his size, he's a powerhouse. It's cool to see, but I don't know if it's necessary for a SmackDown. That's like a pay-per-view spot, like a big, huge moment to win the championship type thing. I don't know if it was...
I'm glad you said that because, again, I know wrestling was different during this time, but, there's a reason why, like, in the mid-'90s, like, I can remember Kevin Nash doing a dive on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I just said Kevin Nash doing a dive on a pay-per-view. I can remember The Undertaker doing dives on pay-per-views over the top ropes, the same type of dives. And, you don't do stuff like that often. Why? One, because you don't want to risk the injury. Two, or if you are going to risk the injury, make it worth it. Nobody's going to remember the SmackDown except for the fact that he almost broke his neck.
Mm-hmm.
Two, if you give people stuff like that on a regular basis, like they become numb to it. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
It's I can give the analogy like if you like steaks and or let's say burgers, whatever your favorite, whoever you are out there, what's your favorite burger place? Some people will probably say Five Guys, some people say In-N-Out, whatever your favorite burger is, right? Okay, let's say you find a coupon for a buy one get one free. Oh, that's awesome, right? Okay, I got one because I like it. Well, another one's great. But if they gave you a buy one get 15 free, there's a marginal, utility that's lost there because by the time you get to burger number 3, you're not liking that burger the same way that you like the burger the first and second time. By the time you get to burger number 15, you never want to see it. You never want to see another burger again.
Yeah.
So it's the same type thing. And there's so many dives these days. It's like a buy one dive, get 500 free. That's what you get every year. It's not worth it to do it because the people stop caring.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's just this bad habit that a lot of organizations, and we'll talk about one of those as we go into the second half in the AEW side, where it's just a bad habits that a lot of people are doing now. And again, it can be reserved for bigger stakes, bigger opportunity, bigger stage, and really give people their money's worth. Like you said, you don't want to bastardize it so much where basically you got to jump off a 70-foot roof into 35 chairs and an exploding barbed wire and glass in order to get people to feel. And what you're doing is you're conditioning the audience to feel that way, and we don't want to do that. And so yeah, that was crazy. Any other final things? Oh, John Cena. Something that's really big. I want to talk about that. John Cena pops up on the screen. He's going to tag with Kevin Owens to face Roman Reigns on the very last SmackDown of the year. How did you feel about that? I think it's great. I think it'll definitely pop a rating. It's good to see John Cena. He apparently he's been in the ring like 20 years. He's never missed. He's been on TV at least once. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so before I say anything, let me just say that I was never one of the people who hated the John Cena era. I would watch it. Wasn't necessarily always in love with the product, but I'm not going to sit here and lie and be like, oh, I was so turned off by Super Cena and all that stuff. There were some things I didn't particularly like sometimes, but overall, I'd say that Cena was, for the most part, enjoyable.
Yeah.
That's it. I did not like this at all.
All right, go ahead. Yeah.
Let me explain why. It's not that I have a problem with Cena teaming up with Kevin Owens, right? I have a problem with this. Vince McMahon is gone, right? If your assumption has been that Cena was the way that Vince McMahon wanted him to be, and all the goofiness and silly humor and all that stuff was more, and this is what Vince wants, then it kind of hurts that argument when Cena comes out there and is doing the stupid comedy. I don't even consider that stuff even dad jokes. It's just like bad jokes. It's like, I'm not, I don't know if he's like purposely trying to be lame, but it was really lame. I didn't like his humor that he presented with that. It just, I don't know, like, that's the thing. It's like when I watched it before, it's like, okay, well, Cena's being Cena because this is the way they want to present Cena. Fine. Now it's like, dude, you don't have to come out here and be the cheese ball. You can be something better or have better material. That I just didn't like that.
Yeah. I definitely get it. Well, I was excited. I like Thugonomics, John Cena. I love his early days. But I would definitely be remiss if I don't, when WWE likes to force certain people down your throat, like Roman Reigns several years ago. I couldn't stand Roman. I couldn't stand Roman Reigns several years ago. But now I like it. The new presentation, the new way he's perceived and been presented, I'm cool with. So yeah, this thing is nice. It's a good fresh thing to see a superstar like John Cena of his caliber to take the time and to come on. So I can hear your part of it, but I'm excited about it. I look forward to seeing what happens and how they're going to book their way out of it. What's going to happen here? Very intriguing possibilities. Now, we're going to hop over to the wonderful world of AEW. So the WWE marks, go ahead and hop off. And the AEW cellar dwellers, I'm just joking now. The AEW faithful like myself, we're going to talk about Winter is Coming, a themed AEW Dynamite that does pretty well for AEW. Let's talk about the card here. We had match 4 of the best of 7 series, the trios, the Death Triangle versus the Elite. We also had the AEW World Championship match with MJF and Ricky Starks. We had the Embassy's Brian Cage versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry. We had Mox backstage doing some stuff with Claudio. Wheeler Yuta kind of giving us what they're going to do in 2023, kind of giving us a manifesto, so to speak. We had a House of Black sighting as well. The Ocho, Chris Jericho, some crazy things happening in that match. Shades of some things in previous wrestling history. We had Ruby Soho versus Tay Mello. We had, so pretty interesting card across the board. what stood out to you personally about this AEW Dynamite? What did you like? Let's start with that first.
You always give me the tough question.
I know. Yeah. I know it's tough. It's like getting the root canal for you. I get it.
What did I like? Did I like? Keep in mind, when I saw this, I may have seen kind of the abbreviated version because I was at the airport and flying that day.
Yeah.
Looking behind, trying to catch up on things in real time. So, look, overall, I like the match between MJF and Ricky Starks. Let's consider that in a vacuum. I like the match. That was fine. There wasn't a problem with that. So good. I like that match.
Mm-hmm. Did you like how they kind of build up the main event, which, you know, AEW doesn't typically do that a lot. They've gotten a little better with it, but generally, like, making it a big thing, making it like, hey, look, you need to tune in and watch this. I like the way they built the pay-per-view, even some of the camera scenes in the back. You've already... What'd you say?
I said I was including that within the vacuum with the match, the build-up and the match itself.
Yeah, got you.
Clarified.
Yep, got you. So, anywho, when it comes to Ricky Starks, you had talked about how you didn't see him winning. We all pretty much knew that he wasn't going to win. Was it a satisfying loss in terms of, do you feel Ricky Starks is diminished in any way?
You just asked two different questions that have two different answers.
Go for it.
I feel like it did nothing for Ricky Starks, which, by the way, let me point out, while I am saying all this stuff in favor of Ricky Starks, I do recognize that there is a benefit to something being for the champion, right? MJF having an opponent, getting a clear victory, showing that he was in peril, but he was able to cheat his way out of it. I recognize that there's ultimate benefit in that happening because it sets up higher stakes for the next person and the next person and the next person. But the problem is, you know, it's not like you're pulling out somebody who, there's certain people who have an upward trajectory or are supposed to be having an upward trajectory. And you don't want to give those people losses like that because it kind of knocks them down a peg. You have other people where, you know, like, okay, an example, Danielson, right? He lost to Hangman Page before, remember?
Yeah.
But he's a guy who, if he loses, nobody's going to look at him and say like, oh, well, he's not what we thought he was because they already see him at a certain level, you know?
Yeah.
And the problem is when you have someone like Ricky Starks, where here's the problem. They've never really done anything to show you that he's at that level, but they're trying to get him to that level, or at least they're trying to make you think they are, right? Because who has Ricky Starks ever really beaten?
Yeah.
Just think about that for a second. I mean, he didn't win the pay-per-view match with Hobbs. I think he beat Hobbs in a match on Rampage.
Okay.
So, you know, about a third of the audience or whatever saw that match. But, you know, the problem is, like, there's no reason that Ricky Starks shouldn't be getting built up to a point where he has a pay-per-view match and loses. This is a TV match. I understand it's a TV theme special, but they telegraphed and told you Ricky Starks isn't really a big deal here. He's got two different opportunities to win two different things, the ring and the belt. And we're just gonna put all this together because at the end of the day, he's not going to win the ring. He's not going to win the belt. The minute that they put the belt in that match, you knew he wasn't going to win the ring. So, and you know, kind of remember last year, I said the same thing about Dante Martin. It's like, oh, so you put him in this whole angle or whatever, you're building him up, and he got nothing out of this. Yeah. And where's Dante Martin been since all that happened last year?
Yeah, you're right. Your forecast of that has been correct, and partially it's because of his brother's injury, and they initially were a tag team. But you make a great point about that as well. Couple things I want to talk to you about. So I agree with you 100%. I think it should have definitely been a pay-per-view. Should have gave them at least a week or two of more build to really build the stakes, really get us excited, because even on the short notice with the promo they had, that was great. But imagine what they could have done when they had more, if they would have had more time to really tell a full story, really build up Starks. You make an excellent point there. And I don't like the fact of how so quickly Bryan Danielson came out and almost was like, all right, Ricky, we're done with you. We're good. We're hopping to something else. I feel there should have been some lingering feelings there, lingering story to be told. Ricky should get an opportunity in the future. And I just feel the way that typically it is booked at AEW that we might not see Ricky back at the top anytime soon. Hopefully that's not the case. But from what we've seen, it is a fair possibility. I didn't like how so quickly they went right to Bryan Danielson. So we'll hold up. We'll see how that unveils. But we'll move on. Hold up. Let's move on. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that we talked about in the previous week that I'm like, they're already telling you that MJF's real feud is with Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
We knew that was coming.
Yeah, that's true. A young man named Action Andretti, who I've known from the Indies. He's a very talented young man, versus the Ocho, Chris Jericho. The crowd was very into this match. Action Andretti, for people who aren't really into the indie scene, is a young, like I said, young man coming up in the indie scene and has some buzz to him. But if you're not aware, no one knows who he is. But he picks up the victory over Chris Jericho. Many people were comparing this to other historical situations where people have beaten relatively unknowns to the general public, have gotten victory over big names. You actually felt a little different. Talk about how you felt about this and why you felt that way. I felt that it was great. It was a great story to tell, and it was nice. I was energized. The audience was into it, and it was good. It was a good change of pace, but your perspective is a little different. Talk to us.
I think that this was more, again, I understand what they were trying to do, but the problem is that the context of how they did it, it's like, okay, yes, there's going to be people who are excited for that happening, but to me this was like almost taking an old idea and being like, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and do it this. We'll go ahead and do the thing where the unknown guy comes and beats the established guy, and then they're like, oh, and we're going to have like a 15-minute competitive match with that. It's like, no, don't. That there's reasons why that's not the way it was done in the past, because you're basically telegraphing, like, okay, when Jericho's having this match with this guy, and Jericho's doing his moves, and then the other guy is having, offense against Jericho. I was saying during the match, I was like, well, I guess this guy's getting signed right after this thing is over.
You did say that. You literally sent that to me, yeah.
Because you're basically telegraphing, oh, this is a signed guy. It's not just a thing for Jericho to get a match. It's, hey, this guy's a signed guy, so we're just going to put him in a match and do all this stuff. It's like, that's not the way that you really tell stories. Like, when people talk about, oh, this is like the 1, 2, 3 kid, it's not. Because, for the context, when Sean Waltman was out there, facing, or when he was in the WWF at first, he wasn't even the 1, 2, 3 kid at first. He was the kid. He was the lightning. Well, he was the lightning kid on the Indies. He may have used that once or twice in WWE. He was the cannonball kid. He was the something else kid. He was based, and that was just during the time where they regularly used enhancement talent on the show, which is why it's probably important to use more enhancement talent on shows. But, he was enhancement talent for weeks and weeks. And then he finally faces Razor, to where you just automatically assume, oh, well, we've seen this guy get beat and beat and beat. This is regular commonplace. Oh, Razor's just going to beat this kid like this kid's always getting beaten, and like Razor always beats these types of kids. And then, oh, Razor missed something, and then he goes and hits the moonsault and gets the 1, 2, 3, pins him, and gets out of there. He's gone. He runs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in this context, it's like, oh, Jericho's just going to have a match against somebody to make him feel better, but then this match is going like 15, 20 minutes. Like, no, you're basically telling yourselves as, oh, this guy's basically fine. We just wanted you to see him, so here's a match against Jericho. And, that's not a story. Because especially when you put the graphic up within, like, what was it, 30 minutes from the time that he lost. Oh, this guy is all elite. Like, man, that's not a story. That's just a checklist item.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't get lost in the shuffle, as we know can happen at AEW. Hopping over really quickly over to Rampage, which has been a chore to even pay attention to be honest. Anything specifically that comes out to you about Rampage?
I forgot it came on. What happened on it?
Well, your boys, FTR, are making a statement. Britt Baker gets a W over Sky Blue, the nice young lady who's up and coming. Wardlow smashes a young man named Exodus Prime. The main event, Kip Sabian, the Butcher, the Blade, Trent Seven versus All Atlantic, Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, Trent Beretta, and Dustin Rhodes. Tells us everything we need to know. So, Rampage, let's just talk about Rampage real quick. We this is a current theme. We're just like, what are they going to do with this thing? They got to figure this out quick, fast, and hurry. At this point, they're just throwing away TV time, and they're just throwing whatever they can. It's almost like it just has no rhyme or reason. It's a separate universe. Any other parting shots about Rampage to let it go here?
Well, I told you, I don't think Rampage is going to be around after they sign a TV deal.
Yeah. Question for you, real quick. Sasha Banks. Let's talk about her real quick. We'll finish up the podcast this way. Been a lot of rumors about where she possibly will be. She apparently will be at New Japan. She'll be at an event, Wrestle Kingdom, I think. She'll be there. I think it's Wrestle Kingdom. Is it 17?
I think so.
Wrestle Kingdom. Let's see. Yeah, I think she'll be arrested.
That show has been going on for a while before it was officially Wrestle Kingdom, so the number is probably about right.
Wrestle Kingdom 17. She's going to be appearing. There's no word of if she will actually be wrestling. Apparently, sometime a couple months ago, she kind of negotiated her exit from WWE. Kind of talk to me about your opinion on Sasha Banks as a whole, as a character, in-ring performer. Do you think her value is going to be really utilized if she does do New Japan? Does she ultimately go back to WWE? The people that are saying she goes to AEW, I think they're smoking the highest, the strongest weed that Snoop Dogg could ever put his name behind. I just don't see her going to AEW because they can barely book the women's division that they have now. So kind of talk to me about Sasha Banks, her prospects, and ultimately where you figure out where she'll go. Your thoughts?
Wait, the first question was, what do I think about her potential as a
yeah, what do you think about her being at Wrestle Kingdom, whether it's appearance or match, where she's going to end up? And yeah.
That's a tough one. I mean, you would assume that she would have been back with WWE. It doesn't really seem like there's any reason except maybe just the whole, hey, she got a chance to get a break when everything happened and realized, hey, maybe she wants to do some other things.
Well, apparently she wanted money like Becky and Charlotte. And they were like, we don't see you. Now, this is rumor and innuendo, but apparently they were like, hey, we don't see you as being the next big deal for the next couple of years. And it's like, well, she's only 30. She's in great shape. She's a great performer. She's always produced. So if it's money like that, I think that's ridiculous not to pay her on the level because she produces at that level. What would you say to that if that's one of the reasons?
So if that were the case, I think that there's a problem with why she isn't getting paid what Becky and Charlotte get paid, because if you recall, last year she was in the main event with Bianca Belair.
An amazing match at WrestleMania.
Right. And it closed out one of the nights.
Yes, it did.
Charlotte was in... Who did Charlotte wrestle in that? Was that when she faced Ronda? No. She faced Ronda this year. Whatever. That's to tell you it right now. I can't remember who Charlotte faced at the WrestleMania last year. I think that Charlotte, again, not trying to say that Charlotte's bad or anything like that, but there's nothing better about Charlotte than there is about Sasha, except that Charlotte has a name of a famous, person.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's no reason why, most of, for a period of time, like Charlotte was having matches with Sasha Banks in one of the years. Sasha Banks and and Bailey had stories during the pandemic, that kind of held a lot of people's attention. I think that if there is an issue as to why they don't think that she is, seen with their level, it's just because, if she doesn't like something, she'll say something, and, if she's not in favor with the right people, that gets taken a different way than if Charlotte says it. I don't even, she's not go along, get along, you know what I mean? And she, because most of the people who are seen as top people, if they don't like something, they say something. So it depends on, sometimes it depends on who's saying, who the person is on the other end. And but ultimately, I think that, she's worth the same amount that Becky or Charlotte is, except she doesn't always get the same merch that they get, especially Becky, but she's not always the babyface, so she's not supposed to necessarily have the same merch.
Yeah. So where does she end up ultimately, in your opinion?
I mean, the thing about the New Japan stuff is their women's stuff is kind of new as a whole. I know there's Stardom, but honestly, and I know this is ignorant of me, before AEW, I didn't know what Stardom was.
Yeah.
And to be honest, even with AEW, it's not like I've gone out of my way to go seek out Stardom. It's just not in front of my face.
Yeah.
So it's not as important for me. So I don't really know how that's going to go, because it's not like if she goes there, it's going to bring that much more attention to Stardom. But the AEW thing. Here's the thing about that: if she wants money, she'll get money. So
yeah.
But the problem is, she may get money, but then the creative isn't necessarily going to work for her.
Yeah, I just wonder how her and Britt Baker in the locker room would work out. I don't know how that would work.
Well, I don't think that they're going to have like issues back and forth with each other like that. I think that it would be more so the politics of the organization as a whole. Of any woman who's come there that isn't automatically indie reputable. When they come there, they basically cut the legs out from under them. So it all depends. It depends on who she's friends with when she gets there.
Yeah. So where does she go?
If I had to say, I'd say she'd probably be back with WWE by WrestleMania, or the night after WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think Triple H can, he's been, apparently there's been rumors that he might have been underwhelmed with some of the rehires, and that's true. We've talked about the struggles with Raw and some of the folks on the roster, and if that's the case, we know that Sasha can perform. She's a great performer. She's done it in the biggest lights and the biggest places, and so if he's looking for a spark and really to get it back, then maybe give her a really good creative plan for her to come back, tell a good story, because she's a great asset. Ultimately, I see her going to WWE. If I'm a women's wrestler, there's no way in hell that I even touch AEW at this point until they really consistently can tell women's stories across the board, not just one, and really and give them a proper presentation consistently. We know they're trying, but it hasn't worked yet, and they still need work to be done. They've added quite a bit of talent, and they're not there quite yet. So they got to show and prove. If I'm a big name, show and prove, and then maybe you might have my ear. But at this point, that hasn't been the case. So as we close up this episode, we talk about pop culture and pro wrestling. Any other things that come to your mind, Mr. Randall?
No, that's well, you already talked about Mandy, right?
I'm not touching that. That's been talked to death. I'm good.
Oh, well, hey, look. Yeah, other than that, I can't think of anything that's been a major story over the past week.
Yeah, Mandy will be back one way or another. She getting paid, so good for her. Whatever she chooses to do. Hey, you sign a contract with a company, they have their rules. She getting bread. She going to get money one way or another. So I could care less.
Not to talk about her specifically, but I would like to point out something to anybody who's listening to this that picks one side or another. Like, listen, when you talk about independent contractors, people like to say, well, they should be allowed to do X, Y, and Z. And to a degree, you're probably right. If we're talking about, hey, you're an independent contractor to go wrestle, and then when you're not wrestling, you have the right to go do whatever. Okay, I can see that argument. But you also have to remember that there's also a bunch of other deals that WWE has in place where you sign contracts with as well. So if you're the wrestler on TV and you also have a contract to have a action figure made by the same company that makes Barbie, there's probably certain things that company does not want you to do in order for you to have that action figure sold. So, there's stuff like that. And I'm not saying that this is what it was, but I think that both parties there kind of were aware of what was going on and made decisions based on what each of them thought was in their best interest. I don't think this was a one-sided, thing.
Yeah. It's definitely nuanced. I'll tell you one thing. I'm not Googling and putting wallpapers on my phone of Mandy Rose. Godspeed to who does. She's a cool person, seems like. But anyway, what an interesting week of wrestling. A lot of stories with Sasha and the FTR and, John Cena. Quite a bit of things going on. At this point, it seems like a lot of them are in kind of holding patterns until we get to the next big pay-per-views. So, what a week of wrestling. Thanks for coming on the WWB podcast. Thank all of our listeners across the globe, Canada, the UK, in different cities across this country. We thank you all for the journey of coming with us. We got some more content coming. The YouTube is up now. Go to YouTube, support us, follow us on YouTube. Go to the IG, WWB podcast _. We got some cool new content coming on the pipeline. I actually did a pilot episode today that might possibly air soon. We're adding more people to the podcast, so giving you different perspectives and just trying different things and just trying to grow this thing. Randall, where can they find you, sir?
You can go to HBCW Wrestling. That's HBCW space Wrestling on YouTube. Find all the action that we've had over the past couple of years, and hopefully there'll be some more stuff coming out and new announcements to be made once we get through the new year.
Sounds good. Well, folks, thanks for coming on the WWB podcast, and we are out.